Well, how would you rate Medicine Hat residents and elected officials in terms of their willingness to counteract climate change?
You know, I've been really pleasantly surprised at the number of things that are happening in Medicine Hat. They've got that HatSmart website, and Russ Smith is doing some great things with the city, and a lot of the city councilors, I think, are starting to see the need for these changes. You know, they've subsidized, or at least they've put up some money to attempt to give people rebates on various things they can do to their homes in terms of renovations and things like that will make them more efficient. Putting in, higher efficiency furnaces and things of that sort. So I think those are tremendous steps. Even at grocery stores, one of my own personal pet peeves is the abundance of plastic bags that seem to be everywhere. But you see more and more people nowadays bring their own bags when they go shopping. So things like that I think are very positive, and they certainly give me a lot of hope for the area. It's sometimes frustrating when you see people that don't quite buy in yet. I mean, I still get somewhat frustrated when I see all the cars lined up with their motors running at drive-thrus and things like that, that I think they could just shut off their engine and walk inside, save the gas, save the money, etc. But it's going to take some time yet.
Okay. Well, what more needs to be done in Medicine Hat and Alberta to address climate change in your view?
Alberta, unfortunately, is one of the biggest offenders in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, and that's largely because of the tar sands. There is a huge area in north central Alberta that is being literally scraped to try to get the oil out of the sands that are up there, and I think people are not aware of what a massive project it is. Unfortunately, right now it's all for the sake of taking out the oil, because there's still this massive need for fossil fuels. It's basically what our society runs on. We need to start looking at alternative energies, and the tar sands is really the biggest offender. So we need to hopefully at some point stop just randomly passing out more licenses, and stop drilling more holes, and stop looking at what are non-renewable resources as our source of energy, because they won't last. They don't go on and on forever. It's almost as if we have this need to suck the place dry before we're going to recognize that it's empty now. We have to go somewhere else. We can't go on doing that. That end, it's not just a case of taking out the oil and burning that up, but it's also destroying all the habitat that's up there, and demolishing trees, which are like our air scrubbers. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but really we are a species that destroys our own environment, and that's what we're doing. So we've got to start thinking about better alternatives that are renewable and cleaner.
The government tells people that you can develop the oil sands in an environmentally friendly way. Do you disagree with that then?
I do. I have to admit that, again, our society functions on fossil fuels. We still need gas to run our furnaces. We need oil ultimately to turn into gasoline to run our vehicles, and so on. And it's really hard to get past that, although other alternatives are being developed. They're just not far enough along yet to completely take over that, and the infrastructure isn't there to support that yet either, although it will happen. It has to happen eventually. But there isn't really a clean way of doing it. It's ultimately drawing on a resource that is non-renewable. It's going to disappear eventually. It's also continuing to put more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, which is just making the situation worse. So, although they can argue that it might be one way might be a little cleaner than another way, ultimately fossil fuels can't continue as our energy source.
Do you think your presentations on climate change have made a difference?
I think for some people they might have reinforced what they already believed. For some people they might have taken away a few new ideas of things that they can do. I think some of the images that I have are a little bit shocking to some folks. Maybe they don't realize things like we're basically destroying the planet with plastic. Everywhere we look in the ocean, in the air, in the soil, there are little tiny particles of plastic everywhere that don't break down. They just remain forever. So little things like that, but as to making a huge impact, I don't really think so. I think the big impact was made initially in people seeing an inconvenient truth to start with. I think that sort of shocked everybody to attention, and then some people have decided to act on it and actually change their ways of life, maybe change their choices, change their behaviors, and other people have decided, well, government's not worrying about it, so why should I? So they carry on doing what they've been doing.
So if you haven't had that huge of an impact, why do you keep doing it?
I guess because I need to. I feel like that's, I don't know if I say my calling, that seems almost a little too far-fetched, but I need to keep putting the message out there for me now, I think, just because I need to feel like I'm contributing something. So that's what I do. I mean, besides, putting down our thermostat and drying our clothes outside and things like that. I mean, those are things everyone can do individually, but we do need to keep spreading the word and spreading the word as much as possible. And maybe at some point, even if I don't change someone's mind, maybe I can plant a seed somewhere, and they'll start thinking about it and maybe discuss it with someone else. And so sometimes changes don't happen in obvious ways. Maybe they're very subtle to start with. Maybe it takes longer than I think it should do. Maybe it's just a case of a ripple effect that somewhere down the road someone else will be impacted and start making some changes too. So I guess it's at this point what I feel I have to do.